There are moments in life when you begin to wonder, why does it seem like everything is coming against me? You look around and it feels like others are walking through ease while you're walking through fire. But I came to tell you today, if these things are happening to you, it's not because you are weak, forgotten, or left behind. It's because you are chosen. You are marked. You are God's warrior. The greater the calling, the greater the conflict. The heavier the assignment, the heavier the attack. But what you must understand is this: every battle, every trial, every storm that rises against you is actually a confirmation that you are not ordinary. You are set apart, and the warfare you're facing is not meant to break you. It's meant to shape you into the warrior you were destined to be. When the attacks around your life begin to multiply, it is not a signal that you are weak or that you are moving in the wrong direction. In fact, it is often the clearest sign that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Opposition is attracted to significance, and the weight of the battle pressing against you is in proportion to the weight of the assignment resting on your life. If you were ordinary, the enemy would leave you alone because ordinary does not disrupt his plans. But when you are chosen, when you carry something divine, the warfare increases because what is inside you poses a threat to the darkness. Every warrior in history was defined not by comfort, but by conflict. And in the same way, the calling on your life will be measured not by how smooth your journey is, but by how relentless the opposition becomes. The reason you feel waves of resistance is because there is something powerful inside of you that the enemy fears. The more attacks come, the clearer the evidence that you are carrying something that cannot be ignored. Spiritual attacks are the enemy's way of signaling that you have been identified as dangerous to his agenda. Think of it like this: no thief breaks into an empty house. No one invests time and energy to attack something that carries no value. If the pressure in your life has intensified, it is because your destiny is valuable. You are carrying treasures the enemy wants to steal, destroy, or bury. The resistance you face is proof that there is something in you worth fighting over. That battle over your life is not random. It is strategic because your very existence threatens the plans of the adversary. The greater your calling, the greater the attacks that come against it. You will notice that at certain moments, right before a breakthrough, or right before you step into something new, the warfare gets hotter. That is because the enemy senses the shift before you see it. He knows that if you cross into that next level, his grip on certain areas will be broken. And so he raises the volume of attacks in an attempt to distract, discourage, or derail you before you step fully into what you were created to do. This is why seasons of intensified battle are not coincidences, but confirmations. They confirm that you are moving closer to what you were destined for. Every fiery dart launched against you is aimed to shake your focus. But if you look closely, you'll realize it's also a backhanded compliment. The attack itself is an announcement that your presence matters, that your assignment carries weight, and that your life is not ordinary. There will be times when you feel like the pressure is too much to carry, when you wonder if you are really chosen at all. But that is exactly what the enemy wants, to convince you to misinterpret your battles as rejection instead of evidence. The reality is that the storm surrounding you is testifying of the treasure within you. The devil does not fight what does not matter. He fights what carries a future. He fights what has the ability to bring change. He fights what has the authority to bring light where there is darkness. Even the people around you may not understand why the weight on your life seems heavier than theirs. They may wonder why you seem to face more battles, more setbacks, more strange opposition. But what they do not see is the mantle resting on you. What they do not hear is the call echoing over your life. The weight of the calling explains the weight of the attacks. And though they cannot see it, heaven knows it, and hell recognizes it too. As the attacks increase, it is easy to feel wary, but that wariness is often the signal that you are close to something greater. In the spiritual realm, the enemy often fights the hardest right before a shift occurs. The pressure builds not because you are losing, but because you are close to winning. The intensity of your battles is not the measurement of your weakness, but the measurement of how close you are to stepping into fulfillment. There is a rhythm to these battles, a pattern that reveals itself over time. Every time you grow, the attacks grow. Every time you advance, the resistance multiplies. But this rhythm is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to remind you that progress and pressure are always connected. If you are moving forward, expect resistance. If you are carrying something significant, expect warfare. The very increase in the fight around you reveals the increase of God's hand upon you. So when you see the attacks increase, when you feel the pressure rise, and when you sense the resistance growing stronger, let it remind you that you are chosen. Let it serve as evidence that your calling is not imaginary. It is real. You are not being fought because you are nothing. You are being fought because you are something. And the very intensity of what comes against you is the undeniable proof that your life carries purpose beyond what you can see right now. There are seasons in life when isolation becomes the unexpected companion you never asked for, but cannot escape. In those moments, the phone stops ringing, the people who once surrounded you seem distant, and the familiar voices that cheered you on grow strangely silent. It can feel like abandonment, but in truth, isolation often signals that God is setting you apart for something deeper. Separation is not rejection, it is preparation. It is in the stillness of being alone that clarity begins to form, and distractions that once consumed you lose their grip. When you are set apart, you may notice that the places where you once found comfort no longer satisfy you. Conversations that once entertained now feel shallow, and circles that once embraced you no longer fit who you are becoming. This is not by accident. It is evidence that you are being pulled into a new dimension. Isolation strips away the noise so that the voice of God becomes sharper and clearer. It forces you to listen in ways you would not if you were surrounded by constant affirmation. Isolation is the classroom where the chosen are trained. Great warriors are not shaped in the spotlight, but in the shadows where no one is watching. The quiet places of solitude build strength that crowds cannot give. It is where character is forged, where identity is tested, and where vision is birthed. You may feel unseen, but in the unseen places, foundations are being laid that will hold the weight of your future assignment. Without this season of hiddenness, you would not be ready to stand in the places you are called to occupy. It is in isolation that the illusion of self-sufficiency is broken. When there is no one else to lean on, you discover the depth of God's presence in a way you never could when surrounded by people. The stillness reveals His voice, His strength, and his ability to sustain you even when human support is absent. It is a sacred stripping that teaches you that you were never meant to stand by the approval of men, but by the power of the one who called you. Sometimes isolation feels like punishment, but in reality, it is protection. Not everyone can see the vision being planted in you, and not everyone can be trusted with the fragile beginnings of your destiny. In the quiet, you are shielded from opinions that would dilute your focus or voices that would discourage your progress. Isolation is the shelter where God keeps you safe until the time is right to be revealed. It may feel lonely, but it is purposeful, and it is shaping you for what is ahead. The struggle with isolation is that it makes you question your worth. You begin to wonder if you are forgotten, if you are overlooked, or if you are simply not good enough. But the truth is that being hidden is not the same as being forsaken. When God hides you, it is because there is a deeper work happening beneath the surface. Just as seeds must be buried in darkness before they break forth into life, so too must your calling endure the soil of solitude before it emerges into visibility. In isolation, you begin to face yourself. The noise of others is removed, and you are left with your own thoughts, your own struggles, and your own truth. This confrontation may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. It exposes the weaknesses that need healing and the strengths that need refining. It is a mirror that forces you to deal with who you are so that you can become who you were created to be. Isolation also recalibrates your dependence. It removes the props you leaned on and forces you to walk with a deeper level of faith. When there is no one to applaud you, you learn to work faithfully without recognition. When there is no crowd to affirm you, you learn to move with conviction rather than applause. This kind of refinement cannot happen in the noise of popularity. It only happens in the silence of solitude. There is also a pruning that happens in isolation. People fall away, opportunities close, and familiar paths are blocked. At first, it feels like loss, but over time, you begin to realize it was pruning to prepare you for greater fruitfulness. The isolation removes what cannot go with you into the next season. It detaches you from what was temporary so you can embrace what is eternal. It is painful, but it is also purposeful, ensuring that you do not carry dead weight into your destiny. And so, when isolation becomes your companion, understand that it is not meant to break you, but to build you. It is not an accident, but a strategy. It is the wilderness before the promise, the quiet before the unveiling, the hidden season before the revealed glory. What feels like emptiness is actually the fullness of preparation, and the silence is shaping you for the sound of what is coming next. There are moments in life when doors shut without warning, leaving you standing in confusion, wondering what went wrong. An opportunity you thought was secure suddenly vanishes. A relationship you depended on unexpectedly ends. A path you were confident about becomes blocked overnight. It is in these sudden closures that you are forced to confront the reality that not every closed door is a sign of failure, but often a redirection. What feels like loss in the moment can actually be the beginning of protection for the future. When doors close without explanation, the natural response is to replay every detail, searching for what you could have done differently. But many times, the closing of a door is not about your shortcomings, but about timing and alignment. God knows what lies ahead, and a door shut today could be shielding you from pain tomorrow. What looks like rejection on the surface may actually be preservation in disguise. Closed doors can feel cruel, especially when they come at the height of your expectation. You were ready, prepared, and full of faith, only to have everything halted in an instant. It leaves you questioning your worth and your ability. But the truth is, closed doors are often a confirmation that your journey is not meant to remain at that level. They serve as a signal that something greater is waiting, and where you were headed would have kept you from stepping into it. The challenge of closed doors is that they test your trust. It's easy to believe when everything flows smoothly, but when the door slams shut, your faith is stretched in ways it never has been before. You have to decide whether you will cling to disappointment or lean into divine wisdom. This is where growth happens, because trust is built in the silence of unanswered questions, not in the clarity of explanations. Many people mistake a closed door for the end of their story, but in reality, it is just a chapter shift. Closed doors mark transitions. They are divine indicators that your assignment in one place has finished, and your preparation for another has begun. The abruptness of the shut door is not to harm you, but to keep you from lingering too long in a place where you no longer belong. If the door had remained open, comfort would have kept you stagnant, but its closure pushes you toward destiny. A shut door can also expose your dependence. When a career path suddenly ends, when a partnership dissolves, or when an opportunity fades, you are forced to reevaluate where your trust truly lies. Was your confidence rooted in the door itself, or in the one who opens and closes them? Closed doors strip away illusions and remind you that your source is not a job, not a connection, not a platform, but the higher power that orchestrates them all. The closing of doors also creates space for new ones to open. As long as you cling to what has ended, your hands remain too full to receive what is coming. Closed doors are not just endings, they are invitations to step into something you would not have sought otherwise. Often, the opportunities that change your life the most are the ones you never expected, and they only came because a previous door was shut. When doors close suddenly, they often reveal the truth about people around you. Some who were with you for the opportunity may not be with you in the loss. This reveals relationships for what they really are, showing you who is truly for you and who was only tied to the open door. Though painful, this revelation purifies your circle and ensures that only those meant to walk with you into your next season will remain. Closed doors also challenge your perspective. You can choose to see them as barriers or as blessings in disguise. If you view them only as rejection, you will carry bitterness. But if you see them as divine redirection, you will carry expectation. How you interpret a closed door will determine whether you get stuck in the hallway of disappointment or move forward into the room of destiny waiting ahead. Ultimately, when doors shut without warning, it forces you to rely on faith more than foresight. You cannot always understand why it happened, but you can trust that it was necessary. Closed doors are never without purpose, even when their reason is hidden from you. They are not an accident, but a strategy shaping your path. And though it may hurt in the moment, the shutting of one door often sets the stage for a far greater one to open in its time. There is a unique weight that comes with carrying a fire within you that cannot be quenched. It is not the kind of passion that fades when things get hard, nor is it the kind of drive that weakens when circumstances turn against you. This fire is divine, planted deep within your spirit. And no matter how many times you try to silence it, it keeps burning. It pushes you to keep moving forward when quitting would be easier. It refuses to let you settle in mediocrity because it was never designed to dim down just to fit in. When you carry such a fire, you often find yourself misunderstood. People may not grasp why you work so relentlessly, why you refuse to accept comfort over calling, or why you burn with a vision that others can't see. They may call you stubborn, driven, or even unrealistic. But what they don't understand is that this fire is not optional. It's essential. It's not just ambition. It's assignment. You did not light this fire on your own, so you cannot extinguish it on your own. This fire doesn't allow you to stay silent in the face of injustice or complacency. It rises up when you see things out of order. It stirs within you when you sense there is more you are called to do. Even when you try to ignore it, it speaks louder, reminding you that you were not made for a life of passivity. This fire fuels your endurance, keeps you moving through opposition, and drives you to keep showing up even when everything in you wants to stop. Carrying such a fire also attracts pressure. Those who carry no flame will never understand why the heat around you seems so intense. The fire within you threatens systems, shakes comfort zones, and disturbs environments where people have settled for less. Because you burn differently, you cannot blend in easily, and that difference can become a target. Yet, it is in those seasons of pressure that your fire grows even brighter. Because fire does not shrink in adversity. It expands. There are moments when carrying this fire feels heavy because it won't let you live like everyone else. While others can compromise, you cannot. While others can sit still, you are stirred to move. While others may sleep peacefully in mediocrity, your fire keeps you awake with visions of purpose. This weight is not meant to crush you, but to remind you of the responsibility tied to what you carry. The greater the fire, the greater the responsibility to steward it well. Your fire is not meant just for you. It is meant to ignite others. When you walk into a room with that kind of unquenchable passion, it inspires people who have lost hope. It awakens those who have grown numb, and it sets sparks in the lives of those who were content with ashes. The fire within you was never designed to stay contained. Its purpose is to spread, to light up dark places, and to bring warmth and direction where coldness and confusion once reigned. There will be seasons where you feel the world trying to put out your flame. Criticism, setbacks, and disappointments will come like buckets of water, meant to smother it. Yet, every time it looks like your fire has gone out, something deep within reignites. That's because this fire is not dependent on external fuel. It is sustained by an eternal source. No matter how much life throws at you, the flame refuses to die because it was not lit by circumstances, but by divine intention. This fire also produces restlessness when you're in places that don't match your calling. You cannot sit in environments that try to suffocate your purpose because the fire in you resists being caged. It demands movement, growth, and impact. You will often feel unsettled in places that others are comfortable in because your flame is designed to keep pushing you toward where you truly belong. The fire inside of you refuses to let you remain stagnant. Carrying such a fire means you will constantly wrestle with tension. On one hand, it feels like a blessing because it keeps you alive with vision and hope. On the other, it feels like a burden because it won't let you rest in complacency, But even in the wrestling, this fire refines you. It teaches you discipline, resilience, and obedience. It shapes your character to carry what you are destined for, and it keeps you aligned with your true path. The beauty of an unquenchable fire is that it grows stronger the more it is tested. It may flicker under pressure, but it never goes out. The wind that blows against it only makes it spread wider. Every trial, every rejection, every closed door becomes fuel for the flame, strengthening it rather than destroying it. To carry a fire that cannot be quenched is to carry undeniable evidence that your life is marked for more, and no amount of opposition can silence the blaze within you. There comes a point in every journey of calling when the very core of who you are is brought under attack. It is not just your work, your progress, or your accomplishments that get challenged. It is your identity. The enemy knows that if he can shake your sense of who you are, he can weaken everything else around you. He does not just aim at your circumstances, he aims at your mind, your confidence, and your sense of belonging. It is a direct attempt to disconnect you from the truth of who you were created to be. When your identity is attacked, the accusations are rarely subtle. They come in whispers that sound like truth. You're not enough. You don't belong here. You're not truly chosen. You'll never measure up. These lies are designed to make you question the very thing you already know deep down, that you were set apart for something greater. The attack is psychological and spiritual, aiming to wear you down by getting you to fight battles inside yourself before you ever fight them in the world. The weight of these attacks can feel unbearable because they strike at the root of your self-worth. When people slander your name, misinterpret your actions, or question your motives, the temptation is to shrink back or prove yourself. But this is not just about reputation. It is about identity. If the enemy can get you to live in reaction to accusations instead of walking in the truth of who you are, he can keep you distracted from your mission. There is also a deeper reason why these identity attacks come with such intensity. It is because your true identity carries authority. Once you know who you are, you walk differently. You speak differently. You carry a weight and a confidence that cannot be shaken by opinions. So the enemy wages war at the level of identity because he fears what will happen when you fully embrace it. He knows that once you understand the authority you carry, no attack will be able to hold you back. During these seasons, you may find that even those closest to you don't fully understand you. Their words may unintentionally cut deeper than the world's accusations. They may question your motives, doubt your vision, or compare you to who you used to be. These moments can make you feel isolated and misunderstood, yet they are part of the refining process. The attack on your identity forces you to anchor yourself, not in people's approval, but in a truth that cannot be shaken. What makes these attacks even more difficult is that they often come when you are already stepping into something significant, right at the brink of new territory. The enemy tries to plant seeds of insecurity. He knows that if you walk into your next season doubting yourself, you will not move with the boldness required to conquer it. So he uses lies, accusations, and confusion as weapons to weaken your faith before you ever step onto the battlefield. The strategy is clear. If he can get you to forget who you are, he can get you abandon what you're called to do. That is why the battle for identity is so fierce. You may find yourself questioning, am I really called? Am I really chosen? Do I really have what it takes? Those questions are not proof of weakness. They are proof that the enemy is trying to shake your foundation because he sees what is coming. Yet in the midst of identity attacks, something powerful begins to happen. You start to realize that your worth cannot be defined by applause or diminished by criticism. You learn that the foundation of your identity must be rooted deeper than feelings, opinions, or circumstances. This is when you begin to stand not on shaky ground, but on a truth that cannot be moved. The more you are attacked, the more you are driven to discover who you really are beyond the noise. Every identity attack becomes an invitation to rise. It forces you to stop chasing validation and start living out of conviction. It pushes you to silence the lies by walking in the evidence of your calling. The louder the accusations become, the stronger your resolve grows, because you begin to understand that opposition is confirmation. The very reason your identity is under attack is because it carries weight and influence that hell cannot stand against. Over time, you will see that these attacks are not there to break you, but to build a deeper confidence in you. They train you to hold fast to what is true, to stop looking for affirmation in fragile places, and to realize that being chosen comes with the price of being misunderstood. Your identity being attacked is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are marked. And though the lies may come in waves, they cannot erase the truth of who you are. There are seasons when opposition rises up against you, and no matter how you analyze it, it simply does not make sense. You look at your life, your intentions, your heart, and you wonder why the resistance feels so strong when you have not done anything to warrant such attacks. The reality is that this kind of opposition is not natural. It is spiritual. It comes because of what you carry, not because of what you did. When the hand of destiny rests on you, the storms are stirred before you even step fully into what you've been called to do. This kind of opposition is confusing because it comes from unexpected places. Sometimes it shows up in the form of criticism from those who once supported you. Sometimes it manifests as roadblocks in areas where things once flowed with ease. Other times it comes as conflict or misunderstanding with people who should have been allies. The opposition doesn't align with logic, and that's what makes it so heavy. It feels as if there is no clear explanation for why everything seems to be pressing against you at once. When opposition doesn't make sense, it is easy to internalize it and assume you are the problem. You may start to question your worth, your decisions, and even your calling. But the truth is, irrational opposition is often the clearest sign that you are on the edge of something significant. Hell doesn't waste energy fighting someone who poses no threat. If you are being resisted in ways that defy logic, it is because your presence in that territory has already been noticed. In these moments, patience and discernment are essential. If you respond emotionally to opposition that is spiritual in nature, you will find yourself fighting the wrong battles. People may rise against you, but they are not the true source of the resistance. Systems may shut down, but they are not the true barriers. There is always something deeper at work, and recognizing that keeps you from wasting your energy on surface, level fights when the real battle is happening in the unseen realm. The strange thing about opposition that doesn't make sense is that it often intensifies right before breakthrough. It is as if the resistance ramps up in one final effort to stop you from stepping into what has already been set in motion. The closer you are to doors opening, the more the enemy tries to close them with unnecessary confusion and chaos. He knows he cannot undo what has already been written, so he works overtime to discourage you from walking into it. During these times, it can feel like you are carrying a weight that no one around you understands. You try to explain what you're going through, but the words don't seem to capture the invisible pressure. That loneliness can feel crushing, but it is also a refining space. It is in that place where you learn to lean on strength beyond your own, where you learn that being carried is sometimes the only way to keep moving forward. One of the marks of opposition that doesn't make sense is that it tries to exhaust you emotionally. It is not always the size of the battle, but the accumulation of small, frustrating resistance that wears you down. A delay here, a misunderstanding there, a loss in one place, and a conflict in another. None of them may be catastrophic on their own, but together they create a storm designed to drain your energy. The tactic is subtle, but intentional. If the enemy can't stop you outright, he will try to wear you out so you stop yourself. But even in that exhaustion, there is a hidden gift. These seasons push you to develop endurance you didn't know you had. They strip away the illusion that the path of calling will always be smooth and show you that opposition is not always a sign of failure. It is often proof of alignment. It teaches you how to keep moving, not because everything is clear, but because you trust the one who called you even when nothing makes sense. The more you walk through opposition that defies explanation, the stronger your spiritual vision becomes. You start to see patterns where before you only saw chaos. You begin to recognize that certain resistance always shows up right before a leap forward. You begin to discern that not every closed door is meant to harm you, but sometimes to redirect you. The confusion becomes less confusing because you have learned that opposition often means confirmation. What feels like senseless resistance now will one day serve as evidence that you were on the right path all along. The fact that the opposition made no sense will become the very thing that strengthens your faith, because you will realize that no amount of illogical resistance could stop what was already meant for you. Every inexplicable battle will become a reminder that you were chosen for something that logic could not contain. And the attacks that made no sense will end up making perfect sense in the story of your victory. There comes a time in the life of someone chosen when doors begin to open that you never had the credentials to unlock. Opportunities present themselves that you didn't apply for. Resources show up that you didn't ask for. And people favor you who don't even know why they are drawn to support you. This is the power of unexplainable favor. It defies human reasoning because it's not based on your RA sum A, your connections, or even your ability. It is divine intervention creating pathways that you could have never orchestrated on your own. Unexplainable favor often leaves others baffled. They may wonder how you got promoted when someone else seemed more qualified, or why you were chosen when so many others appeared to be next in line. What they cannot see is that favor has nothing to do with fairness and everything to do with divine selection. It bypasses logic and makes room for you in places where your name wasn't even on the list. Favor doesn't ask permission. It simply ushers you in. When you walk in unexplainable favor, it can even make you question yourself. You may find yourself wondering why these blessings are coming to you, why doors are swinging open, and why opportunities are landing in your lap. But favor is not about worthiness, it's about purpose. You are not favored because you earned it. You are favored because your assignment requires it. Favor is a resource given to you to carry out what you've been called to do. One of the most powerful aspects of unexplainable favor is that it often shows up in the midst of struggle. Just when it looks like opposition is about to overwhelm you, favor breaks through and reminds you that your story is not controlled by circumstances. You may be attacked on one side, but on the other side, someone is speaking your name in rooms you've never entered. You may be shut out in one place, but favor is already opening a better door in another. The timing of favor is always intentional, arriving just when you need assurance that you are not walking this journey alone. Unexplainable favor also has a way of silencing critics without you ever needing to respond. People may question you, doubt you, or even attempt to sabotage you. But when favor rests on your life, the results speak louder than the resistance. You don't have to defend yourself because favor becomes your answer. It proves that no human hand can block what has already been ordained, and no amount of opposition can erase what has already been written. But favor is not only about personal advancement, it is also about influence. When you are walking in favor, others are impacted by the overflow. People connected to you benefit from doors you walk through, resources you receive, and opportunities you gain access to. Favor multiplies, stretching beyond your own life and reaching those who would have never had access on their own. This is why favor is so powerful. It was never designed just for you, but for the many who will be blessed because of you. Walking in unexplainable favor also creates a new level of responsibility. You cannot treat it lightly because favor is never random. It is always strategic. It demands stewardship. It requires that you use what has been given to you, not to build your ego, but to advance your purpose. Favor entrusted to you is meant to carry weight, to open doors that will further the assignment placed on your life, not to be squandered on self-indulgence. At times, favor can even feel uncomfortable. It sets you apart in ways that may isolate you from those who once walked closely with you. Not everyone will understand why things are working out for you when they aren't working out for them. Some may grow resentful, and others may distance themselves. This can be painful, but it is also a reminder that favor separates in order to position you. You cannot carry everyone with you into the spaces where favor is leading you, and that separation, though hard, is necessary. The beauty of unexplainable favor is that it continually points back to the source. When you look at your life and recognize that you could not have orchestrated the outcomes you are experiencing, it humbles you. It strips away pride and forces you to acknowledge that grace, not personal merit, has carried you this far. Favor becomes a testimony, a visible demonstration to the world that divine hands are working behind the scenes of your story. As you walk in unexplainable favor, you begin to see that it is both a gift and a weapon. It opens doors, but it also protects you. It shields you from traps that were set against you, reroutes you from paths that would have harmed you, and elevates you to levels where the attacks of the enemy cannot touch you in the same way. Favor not only blesses, it defends. It is evidence that no matter how many forces rise against you, there is a higher force working for you that cannot be explained by human reasoning. So if these things are happening in your life, attacks, that don't make sense, isolation that feels heavy, fire that won't burn out, doors that close, or favor that overwhelms. Don't be discouraged. These are not signs of rejection. They are signs of selection. They are the markings of a chosen warrior. And warriors are not built in comfort. They are built in conflict. You are not losing. You are being sharpened. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. The weight of your warfare is only a reflection of the greatness of your destiny. Stand strong, because the battles you are facing today are only the training ground for the victory that is coming tomorrow.